California Governor Gavin Newsom has been actively debunking waves of disinformation and politically motivated lies that seek to undermine his leadership and spread confusion about the state's response to crises like wildfires. Let's break this down clearly, focusing on the misinformation being spread, how Newsom is addressing it, and the broader implications for the political and media landscape. First, consider the context. California's reservoirs are currently at or near historic highs, filled to capacity due to recent rainfall. Yet, misinformation persists, suggesting that there is some magical spigot in Northern California that could have prevented wildfires and water shortages if only Newsom had activated it. This narrative, pushed by figures like Elon Musk and amplified by right-wing media, is not just misleading but deliberately undermines public trust in facts and science. Newsom has firmly countered these claims, emphasizing that California's water management strategies are based on scientific planning and infrastructure limitations. He points out that this kind of rhetoric is harmful to public understanding and hinders serious discussions about climate change and water resources. Such falsehoods often gain traction on social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, where algorithms amplify sensationalist misinformation over fact-based responses. One prominent example of misinformation involves claims that Newsom confiscated Starlink modems from firefighters during the Los Angeles wildfires. This baseless allegation spread rapidly on social media, despite being entirely false. Newsom quickly responded, stating unequivocally that no such confiscation occurred and that CAL FIRE and other agencies were never instructed to avoid using these devices. He exposed the disinformation for what it was: an attempt to sow distrust in California's emergency response efforts. Another repeated falsehood claims that Newsom's administration has slashed wildfire prevention budgets, prioritizing funding for undocumented immigrant health care instead. This narrative, perpetuated by Republican Assembly member Bill Asalee and other MAGA-line figures, is demonstrably false. In reality, Newsom's administration has allocated billions to wildfire prevention and emergency response. For instance, this year alone, $3.8 billion supported CAL FIRE and over 10,700 personnel, with an additional $2 billion invested in fire management and wildfire resilience over the past 7 years. Asalee, despite his criticisms, has consistently voted against these critical funding measures. The cycle of misinformation doesn't stop there. Social media accounts with seemingly unrelated focuses, such as hip-hop or finance, have become conduits for disinformation. These accounts, like My Mixtapes and Wall Street Apes, blend apolitical or entertainment content with politically charged falsehoods. For example, a post from My Mixtapes falsely claimed that President Biden offered California fire victims a one-time payment of $770 while simultaneously sending $500 million to Ukraine. This claim conflates emergency FEMA payments, an initial, automatic aid of $750 for immediate needs, with broader disaster relief efforts, which involve significantly more resources following a thorough review of damages. Such disinformation is amplified by right-wing media outlets like Fox News, where hosts like Jesse Watters repeat these distortions. The narrative is often framed to suggest that Democratic leaders prioritize foreign aid or unrelated initiatives over helping Americans. This tactic not only undermines trust in government, but also exploits vulnerable communities by politicizing natural disasters. Adding fuel to the fire, Donald Trump has repeatedly targeted Newsom with inflammatory rhetoric. In one instance, Trump falsely accused Newsom of withholding water from Northern California to exacerbate wildfire conditions. Trump's baseless claims ignore the complexities of California's water systems and the extensive efforts made by the state to mitigate climate-related disasters. Newsom has responded by highlighting the absurdity of these allegations and calling out Trump's pattern of exploiting crises for political gain. Trump's behavior is emblematic of a broader trend among MAGA Republicans, using natural disasters as opportunities to push disinformation and score political points. For example, House Speaker Mike Johnson and other MAGA Republicans have suggested conditioning federal disaster aid to California on unrelated policy concessions, such as raising the debt ceiling. This approach marks a stark departure from past practices, where disaster relief was treated as a bipartisan necessity rather than a bargaining chip. The barrage of falsehoods and manipulative tactics forces leaders like Newsom to spend valuable time and resources debunking lies. While Newsom has proven adept at countering disinformation, often leveraging social media to share facts and transparency, the sheer volume of misinformation poses a significant challenge. Each debunked lie is quickly replaced by another, perpetuating a cycle that drains attention from substantive issues like climate change mitigation, emergency preparedness, and community resilience. Newsom's efforts to combat disinformation are not just about setting the record straight. They also reflect a broader struggle for truth in the age of digital propaganda. The disinformation ecosystem, fueled by social media algorithms and partisan echo chambers, thrives on sensationalism and division. By contrast, Newsom's strategy emphasizes factual reporting, accountability, and proactive governance. For instance, he recently announced a $2.5 billion funding package to support wildfire recovery efforts, including reopening schools, rebuilding communities, and enhancing emergency response capabilities. The political and media landscape's current state underscores the need for leaders who can effectively navigate and counteract disinformation. While Newsom's communication skills and media savvy make him well-suited for this task, the broader implications are concerning. The disinformation campaigns targeting California are part of a larger trend aimed at eroding trust in institutions, undermining democratic governance, and polarizing the electorate. Consider the broader context. During President Biden's tenure, similar disinformation campaigns sought to paint his administration as ineffective, despite significant achievements like the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and historic investments in clean energy and healthcare. The perception created by these campaigns often overshadowed the reality, highlighting the power of narrative manipulation in shaping public opinion. Ultimately, the fight against disinformation requires more than just debunking lies. It demands systemic changes to how information is disseminated and consumed. Social media platforms must take greater responsibility for curbing the spread of falsehoods, and the public must cultivate a critical approach to evaluating information sources. Leaders like Gavin Newsom play a crucial role in this fight, demonstrating the importance of transparency, resilience, and a commitment to truth in the face of relentless misinformation.